On July 26, 1990, President George H.W. Bush banned employment discrimination against people who have disabilities. The law also required public access through ramps, elevators, and other accommodations. Here with a look at how far things have come and what still needs to be done are my guests, Louis Frick, Executive Director of Access to Independence, and Cindy Jones, a longtime disability rights activist and founder of Mainstream Magazine, which went out of print in 1998. And Cindy, you attended actually the signing of this bill back in D.C. Remind us of what's covered under the ADA. Who's covered?
Everyone's covered if you have a disability, which could be everyone, especially as people age. They will age into disability in most cases. In the beginning, we made it for everyone, like if you might have high blood pressure, that was covered, or diabetes. But through the litigation that has gone through the Supreme Court, some of those have been cut back a little bit.
So trimmed and learning.
Yeah, so actually every American was originally covered under this act.
Now, let me ask Louis about this. You were permanently injured before the ADA actually took effect. So what was it like getting around as a disabled person, either in a wheelchair or with a disability here in San Diego and throughout the country?
You know, first of all, you didn't think about it too much just because that's the way it was. But, you know, thinking back on it, I mean, it's just, it was a much tougher situation. There was far fewer people with disabilities that were out and about. So, you know, it just was kind of an isolating experience because there weren't a lot of places you could go. You know, you had to plan ahead of time, you know, is there going to be a bathroom when I get there? If you don't have your own transportation, how's the bus going to work? So, you know, it was really a process of having to, people with disabilities just have to plan and think ahead. And especially back in the early days, way before the laws were passed, it was even more a difficult situation. So you kind of had to plan every sort of move you were going to make in advance.
Yeah, it's sort of, I think about the seats in movie theaters and at the Potter games, even things like that, elevators and ramps. So how do you think that the Americans with Disabilities Act has actually improved access to everyone?
Well, I think for one thing that, you know, because access has improved, you see so many more people with disabilities out in the community. And as Cindy has said, you know, we look at disability in the broadest sense. So, you know, many people with disabilities have invisible disabilities, someone that maybe has a psychiatric disability or a heart murmur or something like that. So I think that the community is more full of people with disabilities. It's more natural to see people with disabilities in the community. And I think that's a really important component because you see people in the community realize, oh, they're part of the sort of fabric of society. And the university here, you know, as an example, is a huge community and there's a lot of folks with disabilities. So I think the fact that there are more people out and about because access has improved just sort of it becomes sort of a, it generates more community access.
Yeah, more community. And Cindy, I want to, though, on that note, a lot of improvements, but the ADA has not lived up to its promise in some ways. Which ways do you think it still needs some improvement?
Well, I think that we need to focus on employment because without the economic advantages of having a job, people with disabilities will still be in poverty and not be able to afford housing and the other things that most people take for granted. So I would like us to see really focusing on access to employment in the future.
But the law says you can't discriminate because of employment.
It does say that, and the unfortunate fact is, you know, there is still a 70+ unemployment rate among people with disabilities that want to go back to work. So that's a staggering number, and it has changed very little in the last 30 or 40 years. So while the law says, yes, you must not discriminate,
it's still happening.
I
need to end it on this, and I'll start with you, Cindy. So next 25 years, what would you like to see, maybe even immediately happen to improve accessibility or acceptance for people with disabilities?
I'd like to see people actually go out and live their life. Get out in the community, because what changes the community is people going out into the community. Yep. As long as we stay in our houses, nobody has to change, nothing has to change. But so I'd like to see everyone go out and celebrate the ADA and get out there and be part of the fabric of America.
And how about you, Louis, specifically? Do you see like maybe the employment laws changing? Where would you like to see the next steps for this go?
I would really like to, 25 years from now, I would like to see you know, just a broader society that doesn't look at you know, what your differences are and just accepts the fact that we all have some variety. You know, we look different in some fashion or another, and that people with disabilities are accepted equally like everybody else in the society. Nothing more than that.
All right, Louis Frick and Cindy Jones, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.